Morning everybody, this is the week 3 spellings and definitions. I thought doing it like this would be similar to how we do it in class, but we'll see how we go. If it doesn't work out, we can switch back. So number 1, absolute monarchy, and the example is Ozymandias, King of Kings, is depicted as an absolute monarch exercising absolute control over his people. Very much like Macbeth. I'm not going to pause, other than blathering on for a bit now. I'm not going to pause in between, so you can just pause after each one in order to write down the spelling and the definition, and then in your own time move on to the next one. Number 2, mortality. The reference to burial connotes man's mortality. Number 3, dictator. Shelley's description of Ozymandias implies that he was a dictator. And the adjective for dictator, number 4, is dictatorial. Shelley's description of Ozymandias implies that he was a dictatorial leader. Dictatorial. Number 5, speculate. Speculate. Many speculate that his death was an accident. We could speculate when you will be back in school, or we could speculate what you're having for lunch today. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Impermanence. Impermanence. The lone and level sands covering the ruins of the once great works are a reminder of man's impermanence. Shall I put that down a bit? You can't see all my nice fridge magnets and my ironing board. There you go. That's better, isn't it? You can see more of me as well. Oh joy. Number 7, indoctrinate. Indoctrinate. The manacles are a metaphor for man's indoctrination and submission to tyranny and authoritarianism. The spelling is indoctrinate. And the noun for indoctrinate, number 8, is indoctrination. You could say Arthur Burling tries to indoctrinate Eric and Sheila into his way of thinking about capitalism. And number 9, marginalise. Marginalise. This example is from a poem called London that we'll be studying, that looks at how the working classes are marginalised members of society. So Eva Smith and Bob Cratchit from A Christmas Carol are all examples of marginalised members of society. Number 10, emblem. Emblem. Again, this is from a poem that we've not done yet. Well, this will be a couple of weeks. William Blake from London. So Blake's chimney sweep and soldier are emblems of society's exploitation. Trying to think of an example. Oh yeah. So in A Christmas Carol, the chains that Marley's ghost wears are an emblem of how he was trapped by greed and money. Emblem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11. Number 11. Disempower. Disempower. The young Wordsworth awe at seeing the huge peak disempowers him. Eva Smith is disempowered by Arthur Burling, especially when he sacks her. And Bob Cratchit is disempowered by Scrooge. And finally, on this week's sublunary. Blake's London depicts a sublunary and bleak world. Hard to give you an example for that one. Hopefully you did the prep. Right, revision of previous weeks. You can't do prep for these, so just have a go, please. The French Revolution. Shelley, Blake and Wordsworth initially embraced the principles of the French Revolution. Tyranny. Shelley depicts Ozymandias' tyranny through his description of the statue's visage. Oppression. The marks could be interpreted as marks of oppression. That's in a different poem. To give you a better example, Eva Smith suffers from oppression from all of the Burlings at one stage. She is oppressed by the Burlings. Okay, a few from Inspector Calls. The welfare state. Priestley was a supporter of the welfare state. Right now, in the middle of COVID-19, people are relying on the welfare state much more than they would usually, through things like the furlough scheme and benefits that the government have, additional benefits that the government have paid. Let's try another topical one with the I don't know the correct phrase, with the dismantling of the statue in Bristol that you might have seen in the news. This was a statue to a man that lived during Britain's colonial era. So the spelling is colonial. Burling's belief in Britain's superiority over other nations is a reminder of Britain's colonial past and attitude. Excuse me. Chin chin. Feel free to make your own. Next, dramatic irony. We know before Sybil Burling knows that, or we suspect that Eric is the one that got Eva pregnant. We know before Macbeth does that he will be made Thane of Cawdor. Excuse the mysterious figure in the corner. It's a ghost. And we know before Banquo does that he's going to be murdered. Next, patriarchy. Women's roles are dictated by the patriarchal society in which they live. Patriarchy. I should be counting these, I've lost count. Capitalism. Eva's experiences can be considered as a metaphor for the effect of capitalism on the working class. And of course, after capitalism, we have socialism. Priestley's father was a socialist and he grew up listening to the views of those who supported socialism. Don't want the coffee going cold. Can you see this, lot? When I worked at a different school as a leaving, where is it? Camera. As a leaving present, you can't really see it. They gave me this as a leaving present. It's a coffee mug with a picture of Mr. Grumpy on it. Mr. Grumpy? Me? You've got to be kidding. Next. Submissive. The striking women who Eva leads out on strike, have no choice to be submissive to Berling when they return to work. And that's one of Eva's, that's what causes Eva Smith downfall, really, the fact that she stands up for herself. She refuses to be submissive, especially when she goes on strike against Berling for to try and get extra pay. Well, that's 10 minutes 30. I think that's long enough. So if you could send me those, either a picture or by email, however you do it. And if you could send me those, please, as soon as possible. And have a nice weekend. And don't forget the other 2 videos I sent. Bye.